Hate to make a video like this, but yesterday this channel featured a video that YouTube did not like, and therefore they banned it of sorts. Now, this was about the convicted Uber driver, Daniel Perry, if I'm correct, the Army sergeant that took the life of a Black Lives Matter protester and is up for the consideration of being pardoned by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Now, I gave a follow-up because I received so many comments in the comment section. Folks that were suggesting I was wrong or didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And I always invite dissenting opinion, but I wanted to do a follow-up to talk to the folks. And apparently, when I presented my evidence, which was none other than just a CNN video talking about Daniel Perry and other information that's come to light, YouTube didn't like it. YouTube actually took the video and put it in an algorithm where only a couple dozen people saw it. And they notified me by email that they weren't not big fans of the video in their own special way, of course. So what I want to do is present that same video to you, minus the CNN evidence. In the description, I will link you to the original video, which does contain that evidence, but the only way you can see it is you actually have to click on the link. It is not being recommended to any of my subscribers by YouTube, so you have to specifically click on the link. Nevertheless, here is the same footage minus that evidence, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. See you in the next video. Should Texas Governor pardon convicted Uber driver Daniel Perry, convicted of homicide in relation to a Black Lives Matter protester that walked up to his vehicle toting an AK-47? Was this an act of homicide, or was the Uber driver simply acting in self-defense? This is a pushback or a continuation video I'm presenting to you because I received so much flack in the comments, which I always invite. I don't have a problem with dissenting or opposing opinions, so keep up the good work. Nevertheless, that is the purpose of this video. What up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal, with a ride-sharing video. Bringing this video to you as a follow-up because in my previous video, I stated there are no winners in this situation. I think it is one of the dumbest, most irresponsible things you could ever do in regards to bringing an AK-47 to a protest, certainly walking up to someone's vehicle with that in your hand. I don't think there's any of us that would see someone walking up to our vehicle that's not wearing a law enforcement uniform, not wearing a badge, and not be frightened out of our wits. If someone walked up to your car with a long rifle in plain clothes, you would think that your ass is in trouble. I do videos all the time about us Uber drivers getting carjacked on the job, getting our cars taken, some of us even losing our lives. So walking up to anybody's vehicle with a long rifle in your hand is going to scare that driver shitless. Nevertheless, there are two sides of this equation. One is, was the driver, who has been convicted by a jury of his peers, but was he actually acting in self-defense? And the second follow-up question is going to be, should Governor Abbott, the governor of Texas, pardon this guy after the jury has convicted him? Now, these are separate questions, and I'm going to give you a hell of a lot on this as to why I state that. Now, like I said, in this particular melee, there were no winners. I strongly believe, even though the Black Lives Matter protester was dumb as hell to walk up to some stranger's vehicle with an AK-47, I do believe the Uber driver, in this case, Daniel Perry, was looking for drama, to literally drive into a protest honking your horn. And I'm going to give you a follow-up to why I strongly believe this guy, the former driver for Uber, was looking for drama. So I want you to hear something, though. This is a video of a hell of a lot of information that has come out that the jury did not get privy to. They convicted him of homicide, but they never heard anything I'm about to present to you. Check this out, and we'll talk about it on the other side. 76 pages detailing text and social media posts literally full, laced to the brim with hate and hateful comments. Now, the attorney for the Uber driver, Daniel Perry, stated that releasing these documents is just a political move, a political opposition, I guess they would suggest, probably coming from liberals and Democrats that just want to convict his client. I believe that. I certainly do believe it is a political move to try to keep this individual facing the conviction, facing the jail sentence or prison sentence that he's looking down the barrel of. So I do believe it is a political move. Nevertheless, did you notice that his attorney stated it's a political move? What they didn't state is that none of it is true. They did not deny any of this information coming out on this guy. So we can have the debate in regards to, was he acting in self-defense, somebody walking up to your damn car with a long rifle in their hands that you don't know? Was he acting in self-defense is one question. Should the governor of Texas pardon him is a totally different question. Now, clearly in the clip here, and I understand a hell of a lot of my audience is not big fans of CNN, do not give CNN a lot of credibility, so we can debate that in the comments. I always invite your dissenting opinions. Nevertheless, the guy's own attorneys is not denying the information coming out. But as you see from that information, this Uber driver has been following protests throughout the state of Texas for quite a while. Now, this happened in Austin, Texas, but as you see in the video, he was talking about going to Dallas, hundreds of miles away, and causing ruckus because he didn't like what the protesters was doing there. So he's talking about going in other cities to address the protesters. What else did he say? He talked about calling them monkeys. The guy had it in for protests. He clearly was not a fan of any type of cause related to Black Lives Matter. And there's a hell of a lot of other folks that feel the same way. They see cities burning, see places being looted, and they develop a negative opinion for Black Lives Matter. But keep in mind, even without the cities being burned or looted, the message of Black Lives Matter is going to piss off a lot of folks as well. In other words, there has not been anyone, whether peacefully or violently, protesting in favor of civil rights throughout American history that has not been viewed the same way Black Lives Matter is viewed. We'll talk about it if you want in the comments, but keep in mind, whether it's Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, you name it, Medgar Evers, there are plenty of protesters that protested peacefully without any violence. They received death threats too. I would submit to you that Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton has probably received more death threats than anyone representing Black Lives Matter. They haven't been part of any violent protest. So protesting peacefully is not necessarily going to exclude you from hate if people believe the cause you're protesting for is a fraud. And throughout American history, minorities protesting for civil rights has always been a fraudulent cause. We've always stated that no matter what area you go to, they're asking for something that's really not a problem. Now, even during slavery, you're getting free housing, you're getting a free food. The hell are they complaining about? Said the same thing about Martin Luther King. I don't know why he's coming into these towns stirring up trouble. These colored folks are doing fine before he got here. And that continues to this day. But that's a whole different argument. Looking at what is being released here shows that this Uber driver, was growing increasingly frustrated at the actions, behaviors, gains, whatever you want to call it, of Black Lives Matter. He felt confident that he needed to do something. There's other information coming out that wasn't even released in this video that I found by simply doing a little bit of homework, that he talked about actually shooting protesters and claiming self-defense and how to do it. Actually having social media forums about you can actually take their lives if you can get them angry, get them knocking on your cars, and get them to drag you out of your car. So it sounds as though, based on all of the information coming out in regards to this Uber driver, that he had a huge issue with Black Lives Matter. He was very agitated by them and was looking forward to some kind of way of getting back at them. I understand this is all accusation, speculation, or whatever the case may be. But the fact that they have 76 pages that were sealed and they were able to get unsealed, and his own attorneys are not denying that the stuff is factual, taking the lives of Muslims in Europe, he talked about that. He talked about having to maybe take lives on his way to work, which ultimately did happen while he was at work. How can you possibly support a governor jumping in and using this guy as the guy to point out that's been victimized by the criminal justice system and needs to be pardoned? I'm not here to argue whether he acted in self-defense, even though this sounds like a guy whose heart is completely black with hate. It's still a possibility he committed an act of self-defense. Neither you nor I know everything that the jury heard. Nevertheless, even without all the information I'm presenting here, they still were able to come to some type of conclusion that this guy was guilty of homicide. Are they all left-wingers? Are they all Black Lives Matter, bleeding heart liberals? I don't know, and neither do you. But that jury, a jury of his peers, came back with a guilty verdict. And based on what has come out after that, it definitely seemed like the man had hate. Now, I'm asking in regards to a self-defense claim as opposed to Governor Abbott pardoning him because of this. Governor Abbott knows the information I'm presenting here. This information has come out. Now, based on what's going on with Texas law, if I'm correct, the governor cannot just step in and pardon this Uber driver. The governor first has to get approval from the Texas Board of Pardons, or better yet, a recommendation, which is why he wants to pardon the guy. He's already stated that he is going to pardon the guy if the pardon is sent to his desk. But he cannot just pardon the guy. He has to ask the Board of Pardons to investigate the case and recommend a pardon to him. So it is up to the Board of Pardons, knowing that the governor is already going to sign it, for them to be the cooler heads prevailing in this case and suggesting that this is not the guy to die on in terms of suggesting that the criminal justice system is treating people wrongly. Out of everybody we could pick that's being wrongfully convicted or mistreated by the criminal justice system, we're going to pick a guy who has dozens of pages making it clear that he has a heart filled with hatred. Not the right guy to pardon. That is the point I'm trying to make. I'm not denying, though, based on what we've heard, not being on the jury, not being in the courtroom, not seeing all of the evidence, I am not denying that there is a possibility that he acted in self-defense. I'm not denying that at all. Somebody walk up to my car with a long rifle, first thing I'm thinking is my entire world is about to end, and I assume you would think so as well. So what the victim did, and by the way, the victim's name is Garrett Foster. We've heard a lot about the Uber driver Daniel Perry being a sergeant in the military. Well, Garrett Foster was also an Air Force veteran. So let's not pretend, because you don't hear anyone mentioning the fact that he's military. We understand in this day and age, having a military designation gets you a certain amount of sympathy, which is why in right-wing circles, you're hearing them being referred to as sergeant. More than as an Uber driver. You're hearing the term sergeant thrown around everywhere. But in terms of the victim, the fact that he also was an Air Force veteran is not coming out very much. That's how you kind of play this, folks. But is it political? Hell yeah, it's political. It certainly is political. The Uber driver's attorneys is 100% right. This whole case is political to the core. But I'm just here to suggest, and I know I'm going to get more pushback, but that's why I'm doing this follow-up video. And you guys in the comments, let me know where the hell you think I'm getting it wrong. I don't think this is a good case for the governor to pardon. I just don't. Even if you do believe this guy is wrongfully convicted. Hell, the Innocence Project will tell you that our government wrongfully convicts people all the time. I mean, how many African Americans have been released from prison after serving their entire adult lives in there? Yet he's stepping up and offering to pardon this guy before the case is even done. This case has not even come to a conclusion yet. The Uber driver has not even been sentenced to prison yet. The case is not even over with yet. And he's already stepping up, suggesting that he will pardon if he can get the Texas Board of Pardons to submit it to him. So clearly the governor's been following this case and developing his opinion all along the way, even though he is not in the courtroom hearing what the prosecutors are presenting. So it sounds like the Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, already had his mind made up as well. Last but not least, it's not uncommon, and you guys can take this either way. I'm just simply telling you what you often hear. It's not uncommon to hear folks from the minority side of the aisle suggest that Republicans are intolerant. I understand a hell of a lot of my viewers will say it's bullshit. That's fine. But when you see something like this happening, whether it's intolerant or not, I'm not putting a label on it. I'm just going to say this is the stuff that can fuel that. Now, in this case, obviously, both the shooter and victim were white, but just aiming at history, talking about history in general, white people who fought on behalf of African Americans and African American causes were treated just like their black counterparts. If you protested or walked in a march with Martin Luther King as a white person, when it was time to attack the marchers, you qualified too. They call them N-word lovers or something like that, whatever the case may be. This is very similar in some degrees to the Kyle Rittenhouse issue in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Once again, a violent Black Lives Matter protest. Kyle Rittenhouse now is the guy that shows up to a protest with a long rifle. Once again, I think it's a dumb idea. Now, just like in Texas, in Wisconsin, it is legal to walk down the street with a long rifle. This falls under the category of just because you can do something does not mean you should. No one is doing anything that is officially against the law. Walking down the street with a rifle during a violent protest is not a crime. Driving up to angry protesters and honking your horn trying to agitate them is not a crime. This is essentially the term fuck around and find out personified. The driver, Danielle Perry, was essentially living that FAFO lifestyle, trying to provoke someone to find out. So that day, July 25th, 2020, 2 months after George Floyd lost his life, which is what they were protesting at. July 25th, 2020, he got his wish. He was an FAFO type of guy, driving around literally looking for drama. And he got his wish. But I'm not here to say what he did was illegal. Should he have went to a Black Lives Matter protest honking the horn? Now, let me also bring this to you. Earlier in the video, I stated that I strongly believe that this guy was trying to agitate and trying to cause trouble. You know why I say that? Because the evidence has come out that he had been following protests throughout his state, was pissed off and looking to act, even as far away as Dallas. Now, this happened in Austin. The reason I believe he was trying to agitate is because everyone knows that follows what happens during these civil rights protests by Black Lives Matter, that they knock on vehicles, that if you get near any of these gatherings, your car may get surrounded by protesters, beating on your car, maybe even trying to drag you out, which is what he talked about in the social media post as a reason why you could justifiably take their life. So the fact that he drove into a crowd and started honking the horn, if he's been following Black Lives Matter protests through his state, he knew, absolutely knew that is the response he would have gotten if he did what he did. He absolutely knew if I drive towards them, honk the horn, they are going to come to me. And he had to take the life of one. He did what he wanted to do, got them to come to his vehicle, and fortunately for him, if he can get the pardon out of this, but fortunately for him, one of them was dumb enough to come to the car with a rifle in his hand. But that doesn't mean the unarmed protesters were any safer. There's plenty of drivers that have ran them over. There are actual states I believe South Dakota is one of those states that have passed laws allowing you to run a protester over if they block your path. The fact that he's already online talking about how to take their lives if they do something wrong wouldn't surprise me if that may have been the goal as well. Now, in interrogation, to wrap the video up, he stated he was not trying to take the life of the victim, Garrett Foster. According to him, he was just simply trying to incapacitate the guy. He shot him 5 times. You don't shoot anyone 5 times and not try to take their life. He shot him 5 times. Incapacitate? Who's going to try to incapacitate someone that is approaching their vehicle with an AK-47? One round from that can take off large chunks of flesh. You are going to try to eliminate that type of a threat. You're not trying to incapacitate that person, have them writhing around on the ground, still trying to pop off shots at you. No, you're going to try to take their life. So I don't even believe what he said in the interrogation room. Because like I just stated before, looking at how we all would act, all of us would be fearful for our lives if somebody walked up to our car with an AK-47. The last thing you would be thinking about is, let me take select shots at this guy and incapacitate him. You are going to try to take that person's life. And his social media post online made it clear he was more focused on taking lives, up to and including where to hit people. There are social media posts of him talking about center mass and things like that. This is a military guy, a sergeant in the military. You really believe a trained sergeant in the military is out talking about popping people to incapacitate them? Does any of that make sense to you? So I want to see what you guys have to say in the comments, because this case here, it's politicized, but yeah, the last thing I think any respectable governor should do is step in and pardon. This would not be good for the Republican Party to step up and do something like this. This will certainly further the claims that Republicans are intolerant or have issues with minorities and people of color. The governor should just let this one go. Even if you believe this guy acted in self-defense, and here I am suggesting that that is very possible, this is a genuine bad guy, period. This is a genuine bad guy. Genuinely has hate in his heart. That doesn't mean he couldn't act in self-defense. I'm just saying this is not the guy as a political figure to put your name on. Let him file his appeals. Let him get an attorney, all of that. Let him handle that himself. Would you advise, if you were the advisor to a politician, I'm going to wrap it up by saying this. If you were the advisor to a politician, maybe you're the advisor to the governor or someone, would you give them the advice to do this? Would you think that this is in the best interest of your client to have him pardon a guy with 76 pages of hate texts, hate social media posts, memes, referring to Black Lives Matter members as monkeys and things like that? Would you suggest that? And I'm not here to suggest that even calling somebody a monkey is intolerant. It certainly isn't a compliment, though. Would you suggest pardoning him? It's your boy Tim, as always. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.